You son of a bitch. I'm in.
Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Against the Odds. And we have one big rule here on Against Odds, which is whenever there's a new Panharmonicon, we gotta give it a try. So today we're heading to Outlaws of Thunder Junction Standard to play some Annie Joins Up. And Annie Joins Up is a pretty interesting twist on a Panharmonicon. So on one hand, it's a bit narrow. It's a Panharmonicon, but only for legendary creatures, so it doesn't work with everything. On the other hand, it solves one of original Panharmonicon's biggest issues, which is it actually does something the turn it comes into play. With original Panharmonicon, it can be really hard to find a turn to play it and take that turn off in hopes of catching back up in the future, but Annie Joins Up is actually like a fine removal spell. 5 damage to something kills Shieldred, snipes Planeswalkers, pretty much whatever your opponent's best thing on the battlefield is. So what are we actually doing with Annie Joins Up? And one of the twists of Annie Joins Up is because it only works with legends, we don't get to play a lot of traditional Panharmonicon stuff. We can't just like play Mold Rifters and Spirited Companions to draw a bunch of cards, but drawing extra cards is still one of the best things you can do with a Panharmonicon, so we gotta get kind of sneaky with our card advantage. So our big card advantage engine is actually Inti. Inti's kind of absurd with Annie Joins Up. When we get it down in attack, we discard a card, putting our honor on something, give it trample. More importantly, when we discard a card, we get to exile the top card of our library, we can play it until our next end step. So the way this works with Annie Joins Up is we get down Inti, we attack, we have the option to discard 2 cards. If we discard both of them, we'll impulse draw 4 cards, which is actually a ridiculous amount of card advantage. Plus, we're growing our team, we're giving stuff trample. We also have on the top end of our curve Aurelia, which can draw us multiple cards with Annie Joins Up. Voja, kind of funny in the deck since we don't really have many elves or wolves, but still it's a big body that has ward, it has trample, and whenever it attacks, we get to draw a card because it's a wolf, and it'll be 2 cards with Annie Joins Up. So this is our main card advantage package. Then we have our counter shenanigans, which is probably my favorite part of this deck. So we have Inti, which puts counters on things. We got Bristly Bill, which is a legend with landfall, put a counter on thing. Plus it can double our counters. And then we have Kadama of the West Tree, which makes it so when a modified creature, like a creature with a counter on it from Inti or Bristly Bill, deals combat damage, we get 2 rampant growth essentially, 2 to a basic from our deck. So if we have Annie Joins Up out, every time we Inti, we can put 2 counters on things and give it trample. Every time we play a land drop, we double counter with Bristly Bill. Every time we get in with a creature with a counter, we can tutor out a land to put more counters on things with Bristly Bill. That'll also make a bunch of mana with Nissa. We don't have any other elves in our deck, so we double trigger Nissa and just find more Nissas, but still we can discard the extras to Inti or whatever. And then Halan and Elena works really well with counters. We can put counters on it to grow it, and then at combat it's going to double trigger and put a ton of counters on our other stuff and give stuff haste. So this is kind of our main way of winning the game, is just like add a ton of counters on things, maybe double them with Bristly Bill, wrap out a ton of lands, and smash our opponent with these huge creatures. And then we have a couple of creatures that are kind of payoffs for putting counters on things. Anna Pikel likes growing with counters because it's going to make us a ton of gnomes, double triggers with Annie Joins Up. And then Sovereign Onotek Owl, pretty unique. Essentially, if we put counters on things, this will double up those counters when it attacks to make our team super huge. Plus it has ward, which is nice. Otherwise, Hajar protects our team from removal. Ruby's actually super cute in this deck. It's a 2-mana mana dork, which is already good because it ramps us into Annie Joins Up or other big plays. But then in the late game, when we attack and have a creature power 4 or greater, it gets +2/+2, but that'll double trigger with Annie Joins Up. So in the late game, this is actually a 2-mana hasty 5/6 attacker, assuming we have a 4-power creature on the battlefield. Get lost for a bit of removal, mana based, a bunch of basics, and Cabretti Courtyard to take advantage of like our Kadama modified ramp plan, plus Cabretti Courtyard works really well with Bristly Bill. Otherwise, pretty typical stuff. In the sideboard for control, Invasion of Gabakon Thalia. For creature decks, Get Lost, Knockout Blow, and then Kazul's Flanker, kind of a catch-all graveyard hate spell. And that is Annie Joins Up for Outlaws of Thunder Junction Standard. And that's our Against Odds deck for this week. So let's jump into some games and see just how good Annie Joins Up really is. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap-up. We've got new tokens and playmats, and you can even get the tokens signed if you want. Check them all out over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. Need some magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. Against the Odds time, we are playing some Annie Joins Up. You know, when there's a new Panharmonicon, we gotta try it. We also have to, oh God. You know what, we're keeping this one. I tried to avoid the one land, one keep, chat. I tried, but The magic god said snow. This hand's actually good now that we drew land number 2. We can play Ruby. Wow, and land number 3. Okay, now this hand is kind of great. We can Ruby into, well, we'll see if this resolves. It does resolve, see if it lives. All right, go for the, that's good. At least our opponent had to spend a real removal spell and not a cut down on it. Land and passes. Well, let's Brizzly Bill. Pre-land drop. Got to get the, all right, no more lies. Oh, is our opponent playing, are they control? Or do they just have a very controlling Esper mid-range hand? Deep Cavern Bat. All right. Well, what are we taking? Do we take the Annie Joins Up because it's our Panharmonicon, or do we take a castable card? I mean, Annie Joins Up is also the removal spell, right? Wow, they go with Nissa. Well, we draw another one. You know what? Considering they just took the Nissa, I assume that means it's bad for them if we play it. We do need land number 3. We got a little lucky to hit, oh boy. All right, we need the land right now. Land, and we get to see the power of Annie Joins Up. Come on, deck. Come on, deck. Untap land. Yes. Okay. And this is why Annie Joins Up might be one of the best Panharmonicons. It's a Panharmonicon that also kills Shieldred. It's tempting to play Voja, but I think we just got to get Shieldred off the battlefield while our opponents tap down. Snipe Shieldred. Get down our legendary Panharmonicon. See, that's so big. Ooh, Rafine. Like, that's so different than past Panharmonicons. The fact that we not only get our Panharmonicon, but we get removal out of it is kind of insane. Opponent, growing the bat, hitting us down to 14. I mean, we still might be in trouble. We didn't draw land, so I guess it's Inti and Hajar? Let's play Inti. I guess we can Inti. We had to draw a ton of cards. One of the sweetest synergies. So since we don't have just like Muldrifter effects. Oh, all right. I think we discard the Voja still, because we get to draw 2 here. Impulse draw 2, Bristly Bill, and Ruby. We're not going to discard the Hajar. I guess we play the Ruby and pass the turn. That's one of our best sources of card advantage, though, is Inti, discard 1, draw 2. That's our Spirited Companion opponent, discarding a bunch of lands. Hits us, down to 11. Passes. We draw even more Hajars. Well, that's fine. I mean, as long as this Inti gets to attack, yeah, we'll get him with Ruby. We have enough mana, I think. Definitely discarding at least 1 Hajar. Trigger. Grow it. Find a Ruby, and an Annie Joins Up. Well, now I think we discard the second Hajar and try to hit a land so we can Annie Joins Up the Rafine and pay the ward. I think that's the goal. So we need to hit an untap land, preferably. Draw 2. Okay, there's the land. And a Bristly Bill. Ooh. Can we just play through the Rafine? We can, like, Bristly Bill, new Ruby land. Yeah, okay. New plan. New plan is, I think the Rafine gets to live. We'll see if we can regret this. But we get to double trigger Bristly Bill with the land. And this is going to make the Ruby next turn super big, because it also double triggers. Ruby is actually like kind of ridiculous in this deck. All right, we're in race mode. I know our opponent's at 17, we're at 11, and they have a lifelinker, but we're going to try to race. We'll see if we regret it. We could have just spent our turn killing the Rafine and not rebuilding the board. They're going to bounce the Bristly Bill. Sure. Opponent attacks with both. It is annoying that our opponent's conniving so much. It's just going to help them find what they need. Opponent, wow, discards 2 more lands. Or maybe they just hit all lands. Well, let's see what we draw. A land. Well, let's go to combat attack. Double trigger. Everything. So Ruby, 5/6 hasty Vanadork for 2. Discard. I guess Inti. Draw 2. Land. And even more lands. Yeah, you know what? Let's discard Bristly Bill. See if we can find some actual action here. How about Ruby, land, and okay, Aurelia. At least that's a real card. Better pre-combat, but it actually is a good blocker for Rafine or the bat. Okay, Fairy Mastermind. Whew, I was afraid it was a counter, but Fairy Mastermind's kind of okay. Opponent draws 2, we draw 1. Even more Aurelias. I might as well play the fetch. Do a little deck thinning. We hit a lot of lands there. Do a little deck thinning. I mean, you can see the power of Annie Joins Up Inti. Annie Joins Up Inti is actually very good. Opponent, land. and Gix. And swings out. Okay. That's going to let us draw 2 with Aurelia. And Annie joins up. Thank you, opponent. Juan and Elena. And opponent gets to draw 1. We find, Kadama's actually kind of nice here. Kadama gives all of our things with counters trample. Because of Inti, all of our things can have counters. That's the power Annie joins up. Came down, sniped the Shieldred, generated an absurd amount of card advantage. Did our opponent find removal? Rafine gets huge. We're gonna block the bat. Take 5? Okay, Urtai. To kill the Aurelia post blocks, okay. Well, we dropped to 4. Does our opponent draw? I think this Aurelia might still do it. So we can play Aurelia. We can double discard to Inti to give our ground creatures trample, and then Aurelia hits for 4, and we draw 2. Actually, yeah, we got to get in with Ruby too. Let's get in with everything. Get the triggers. Yeah, the trample here is going to be massive. So discard a Kadama. And opponent, yeah, sees it coming, scoops it up, and that was a Annie joins up win. I don't think our cards would have been good enough to steal that win without Annie joins up. Bring in a couple more removal spells. Do a little trimming. Sovereign. Sovereign's going to die. Sovereign is really cute with Bristly Bill, though. Maybe we can keep it. I mean, that was an Annie joins up game. The Gabacons could be worth it. Do a little, maybe a little more trimming. Let's go down one Halan and Elena. Remember, all the creatures in our deck are legendary, too. So some of them, the early drops, it's kind of fine. Like, sometimes it's a little awkward, but mostly, like, if a Bristly Bill or an Inti stakes, we're doing pretty well anyway, and we can always discard the extras to Inti or whatever. The more expensive stuff, drawing, like, double Juan Elena is actually pretty brutal, though. All right, well, opponent's on the play for game number 2, and, land's a little tepid, but that's fine. We'd like to just draw, there we go. Like to just draw a land, because then we can save our fetch for after we get down. Cactus Jack. Opponent, land, and Deep Cavern Bat. Well, that's fine. I imagine they take Bristly Bill. We even got the combo with Kadama for all the... Wow. Takes Ruby, Rue, eh? Well, let's just play the land. Play Hajar. Do we play Bristly Bill? The next turn, we fetch Hajar. Yeah, let's play Hajar. Hajar is... We have doubles, so if a removal spell hits Hajar, we don't really care. All right, another Deep Cavern Bat. Yep. What are we taking this time, opponent? They probably got to take Kadama, because Kadama... All right. The problem our opponent's going to have with Kadama is it has reach. It has reach. Well, let's play the fast land. Play the Kadama. Get in, hit you for 3. Well, this is a big turn. If our opponent has a Shieldred, we don't really have an answer at the moment. You know what we could use? That'd be an Annie joins up. Opponent, Duelist of the Mind Mage. Reach is a lot less sneaky on Arena now because of that crossbow. A lot less likely your opponent's just gonna randomly attack into it. Because we don't have Bristly Bill, we don't have any modified creatures. I guess we just play Ruby. I guess Hajar might as well keep attacking. We're gonna leave back Kadama. The reach is like holding back our opponent's entire team here. We're gonna play the fetch. We could try to wait and find a removal spell for Bristly Bill, but at this point I think we'd rather just do some deck thinning. The very powerful thinning of the deck to try to find a removal spell. This Kadama's doing so much work. It's really funny that just a 3/3 reacher. Wow, it's another bat. This does trigger the Duelist, so everyone gets to loot. But this Kadama just like having reach. I guess a giant spider. Classic OG giant spider would just wreck Dimir, apparently. Maybe reach is more powerful than I realized. I mean, it's good that they got rid of the sneaky reach on it, because the people attacking into it, it is kind of like a bummer. But those were always funny moments when, I mean, I've done it myself a million times when you don't expect, like, Kadama doesn't really look reachy. All right, the Denic system. Passing, because you can't get through a Kadama. Ooh, golly gee. That's an Aurelia. That is an Aurelia. The question is, how much can we attack with? We need to attack with 3 to get the trigger. It does have Vigilance, which is nice. Let's get in there. Draw a card. Ooh, Get Lost is kind of nice, too. I mean, the other upside is if our opponent just swings back at us, they trigger Aurelia, because it triggers on our opponent's stuff, too. And opponent scoops it up, and, wow, that went pretty good. And he joins up. Not bad. And ranking up. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Let's see what our opponent's up to. We're going to be on the draw, unfortunately. Well, I mean, this hand's got a lot of action, and it's got the anti-joins up. We will keep. Yeah, I mean, this could work. Opponent planes. And Warden of the Inner Sky. Oh boy. All right. Well, let's see if we're fast enough to keep up with the fastest deck in Standard on the play. Opponent. Oh, all right. Well, play a land. Play Hajar. Take one. Pass the turn. We do need one more land for anti-joins up. Opponent. Deserted Beach. And Steel Seraph. Sure. Going to send the Warden to the sky. Gets in for one. Well, we'll take it. Untap. Ooh, Anim Pikal. That's pretty good. Well, let's play Anim Pikal. Get in with the Hajar. Make a token. All right, opponent's just going to block the token. Sure. I mean, if we can draw a land for this anti-joins up, next turn's going to be kind of sweet. Opponent, land. Going to the air. Opponent passes. Not a land. Probably going to get got by Wandering Emperor. Well, let's play an Inti. Get some triggers. There's Wandering Emperor. Yeah, I mean, we knew that was a possibility. Opponent. Wow, gonna go after the Hajar. Interesting. I was not expecting that. So we're gonna sack Hajar. And we will discard a Nissa. Land, please. Hit a land. Send a token at Wandering Emperor. Send another face. Wow, that actually worked out pretty well. The only bad news here is we hit a land that doesn't let us play another Hajar, but opponent, Case of the Filch Falcon. I mean, this sets us up for anti-joins up next turn, and anti-joins up here is going to be kind of devastating. If our opponent can't deal with this Anim Pikal, it's really bad for them. At some point, they might need to start gaining life. Passes. Well, I mean, anti-joins up? Wow, okay. Kill the Steel Seraph. They gotta kill the Anim Pikal or they die. Okay, they're just gonna bounce the Anim Pikal. I'll go to combat attack. Trigger Inti. Discard another Nissa. We really just need to hit our land. Put a counter on Inti. Anti-joins up. Hajar. Wow, this is not going as well as we wanted. Counter on a token. Okay, there's the land. We did waste a lot of cards to find this land, but we got there. We're playing 25 lands. It's not like we're being that greedy. I mean, this does set us up to double Aurelia next turn, which is kind of insane. We have 5 creatures. Actually, that really is like super duper insane. Opponent's also at 3. Opponent sacks, draws. We're seeing the power anti-joins up. We are seeing the power, Norn's Inquisitor. Yep. Dead. Ooh, all right. Oh, we had 5 creatures too. So we're gonna Aurelia double Lightning Helix, double double card draw. All right, what are we cutting? We'll go down 1 Halan and Elena. Let's go down with Nissa. Kadama at least has reach, which is relevant. Gavakon, no. Failing, yeah, let's just run out like that. Let's try it like that. If this doesn't work, we can bring in a Knockout Blow or two. The thing is, Knockout Blow, not as good against an Azorius deck. Really good against mono red. Very good against mono red, but not as efficient. Well, that went pretty good. Like, the thing about anti-joins up, being a Panharmonicon that's also a removal spell, really changes the equation. Like, it's kind of wild how much it changes the equation. Because the problem with Panharmonicons, right, is that you have to take a turn off to play them. Anti-joins up avoids that. Like, you get a removal spell. It's not a great removal spell, but you get a removal spell, which is so different than, I think, any Panharmonicon we've seen. I guess, like, so Elishnorn is kind of like that. It's not a removal spell, but it gives you a big body at least compared to like original Panharmonicon. But being a Panharmonicon that also kills Shieldred is kind of actually very powerful. Yeah, you got the restriction that only works with Legends, but it works with any ability of Legends, which is also better than Panharmonicon in some ways. Like, original Panharmonicon wouldn't double our Inti trigger or Bristly Bill trigger or whatever, or Aurelia trigger. Actually, most of our deck would not work with actual Panharmonicon, but we don't get the Muldrifter effects. That's what we're kind of missing in the deck. You don't just get, like, Spirited Companion, draw 2 cards. We're going to keep this. We're on the draw. We just need to hit our land drops, basically. Warden. All right, that's not exactly a land drop. Opponent. Adhikar Waste. Novice Inspector. All right, opponent's off to a nice little fast start here. Tap everything. Oh, wow. Okay, opponent's off to a very fast start here. We need to hit a land like this turn, probably. Scries to the bottom. Gets in for 2. Well, okay, not a land, but at least an Inti is a body. It's something we can do this turn. Opponent. Tap land. Oh, we're taking so much damage. Grows it. No blocks. Down to 13. Wow, still not a land. Yikes. Well, we knew this was a risk, right? Like, the way that this goes most wrong is us not drawing any lands, and that's kind of exactly what's happening here. Land? Well, we hit the land. It would have been better if we could have got the Kadama down first. That would have made it a lot better. We'll play the Kadama. Because then we could have ramped off the Inti, which would have been sweet. Opponent Plains. And this is gonna quickly outscale Annie joins up. Well, we will take it. No blocks. Drawing a land for Annie joins up would still be good. Opponent taps. Scries. Bottom. Well, we draw land. I mean, we gotta do it, right? We gotta do it. Wandering Emperor is a thing. So we play Battlefield Fjorge. We play Annie joins up. Ouch. No. Wow. Okay, so they're gonna save the Warden.
And I will protect my.
All right. Yeah, so it's realistic that we just die this turn. So we have to leave Kadama on defense. How can we win this game? What is the way we could win? Yeah, I mean, we get in with Inti, discard nothing, get a couple lands. We'll see. We'll see if it's enough. Opponent land. Samurai. And this Warden now has flying and vigilance. Ugh. Ugh. Grows it. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just block. So we're gonna need to hit a removal spell off of this Inti. Okay, let's play Kadama to keep the ramping going. Attack our opponent. Trigger, trigger. Discard Voja. So we need to hit a removal spell here. All right, opponent Aganjos. None of those are removal. Well, yeah, I mean, play the land, play the Sovereign, but I think we're dead. Oh, yeah, opponent found the removal and we did not. They were also on the play and got off to a really fast start. So I think that's also part of it, right? They just had the triple 1-drop, double artifact Warden draw. So they just had like their fastest possible draw. And we definitely did not. Opponent, gonna tap a bunch of stuff to scry. And then they hit multiple removal spells too. What ways are there that we can win? Are there even ways that we can win? I don't think we win just by chumping here though. Like, I don't know how we... Nissa, but no lands. Aurelia, but no creatures. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that was an awkward one. Well, on game 3, we're going to be on the play this game, and it seems unlikely that our opponent has that start again, right? That was the triple 1-drop. It's kind of the equivalent of playing against the Boros deck when they just have the, like, oh, Gleeful Demolition and denied on turn 2, and you're like, all right, like, if you do that, you just win. We put up the good fight, we just never found a removal spell. Could not find one. And our opponent managed to, their hand was so fast to outscale the Annie joins up. All right, I mean, we're going to keep this. We need to hit white mana eventually, but we do have 2 Annie joins up. We have a Hajar we can play early. Halana and Elena is good with Annie joins up. And another creature. Gonna need to find the white source, that's for sure. No Inti this game is a little annoying. We haven't seen Bristly Bill this match, like, at all. Have not been able to find Bristly Bill. Opponent. All right, well, Rockfall Vale go. Opponent Plains. And Novice Inspector. I'll play the land, play Jar. Come on, white source. White source, please. Our silly common fetch land would actually be kind of the best here. Opponent. Dusk Rose Reliquary. Okay. Oh boy. Punished. Punished by no white mana. Opponent. Glyph. Yeah, that's a problem. White mana? Untapped? No. Inti. Huh. Well, maybe 25 lands is not enough today. Opponent land. No blocks. Cryptic Coat. Warden of the Inner Sky. Yeah, I think we're dead. Just could not hit the land drops here to actually play anything, unfortunately. Yeah, sure. Discard a Voja. Well, there's the untapped light source, but I think it's too late. Too late to the party. Yeah, I mean, we'll play it. It's just too late to actually matter here. So I guess we kill the glyph, but our opponent gets to cascade into another Cryptic Coat. And yeah, we're just, we're too far behind to catch up. Well, that was some very bummer running there. Jeez. I mean, we can't keep that. All right, this is functional, I guess, ish, relatively. Not exciting, but I mean, we get removal, and that's about it, I guess. Ooh, Tiny Bones. Ooh, Aurelia. Okay, that's a nice payoff. Opponent. Tiny Bones is very weird. It doesn't usually pop. Ooh, that's an anti-joins up. Oh, we probably should have kept the other land, shouldn't we? We manage. I don't know if we want to play Ruby anyway. The problem with playing Ruby, one of the things that Tiny Bones does do very well is it does put you into some awkward situations, right? Like if we play Ruby here, our opponent can just cut down Ruby and then cast the Ruby. That would be less than ideal, I would say. Ooh, the channel land. Opponent hits us down to 19. So we kind of have that same issue, right? Like, do we run something out and let our opponent steal it with Tiny Bones? But then how do we not run something out? That's the power of Tiny Bones, right? Is it's forcing us to make this decision. I think we actually pass. Like, I'm too scared that we cast Nissa and our opponent just kills Nissa. Oh, opponent gets in, just kills Nissa with the Tiny Bones, gets in and steals it. Oh, wow. Opponent's missing land drops. All right, well, if our opponent's missing land drops, I guess we will just anti-joins up. And now we're kind of free to do things. We got the anti-joins up down. Our opponent should not be able to get rid of it. Opponent and their Tiny Bones is. Well, if we cast expensive things, our opponent can't steal them. I mean, one of the cool things about Nissa in anti-joins up is it always double triggers. So we can play Nissa, land, double trigger, get another Nissa. I guess play Ruby. And then next turn we can potentially Aurelia. Yeah, Nissa's always going to find more Nissas in this deck. It's the only other elf or elemental. Well, get a Ruby, which is still kind of fine because Nissa tends to die. If you want to trade, that's fine. Opponent's going to cut down. Well, we might need to kill the Tiny Bones. I mean, I guess we can just block with the Nissa, right? We have a backup anyway. But we don't want our opponent to start casting our mana dorks. Well, okay. That means they don't have mana to cast anything. We don't really care about our opponent killing stuff. We just don't want them to start casting stuff that makes mana with Tiny Bones. But Tiny Bones is not for free. You still do have to pay the mana. Opponent gets in, hits us. Sure. We have a Panharmonicon, but it hasn't done anything yet. I mean, I guess it killed the Tiny Bones. Opponent, 2 lands. They're getting in with this Tiny Bones, but it's only 1 a turn, and they don't have the mana to use the Tiny Bones ability. Another Aurelia. Well, I mean, I guess we can just Nissa into Aurelia. How worried are we about this Tiny Bones? You know what? We just got to do it. We got to do it. We got another Nissa, so we get to get in, hit you with the Aurelia. Worst case, we can block with the Nissa. If they kill the Nissa, all right, they're going to kill the Aurelia. Well, that's fine. We got another one. Opponent gets in. Yeah, can't cast anything, so we'll take it. Well, let's play Hajar. Sooner or later, our opponent is going to draw a land. Get in, hit ya down to 13. Can't believe our opponent hasn't found land number 2 yet. That does mean they probably have a handful of removal. Because they're not playing land, so they got a lot of cards in hand. They're going to be doing something. Opponent, combat. All right, well, we will draw land. Ooh, do we get to double? If we get to double trigger Aurelia, I think we win. Oh, God. Okay. Aurelia, not dead. Double trigger. Yeah, once Aurelia starts double triggering, it goes pretty well. We're going to let that go. Kill the Tiny Bones. Lose the Hajar. Fetch. Double trigger. Yeah, this is, with our opponent only on 2 lands, I think this is probably just game. All right, so grab a mountain. Trigger. We might as well play the Sovereign, I guess. It doesn't do a ton at the moment, but it's still a It's still a body. It gives us another creature for Aurelia. Opponent. Duress, take a peek, and presumably scoop it up. Okay, we get to do sovereign things. We gotta, aww. Yeah, I mean, I guess our opponent was just dead in many, many ways. Life is, easier when your opponent only has 2 mana. We gotta bring in the rest of the Get Laws. Do a little trimmage. I do kind of like Invasion of Gabakon too. Let's try it like that. Flipping a Gabakon is actually very powerful, especially since our deck has modified synergy. So it's even better. Like, it's powerful in any creature deck, but it's even better in our deck because we have access to like Kadama to turn it all into ramp. We got Sovereign, Anatek Ahu or whatever that grows our stuff. So we do have a lot of like bristly build to double the counter. So we do have a lot of payoffs for putting counters on things. So we're even a better Gabakon deck than most. I mean, no Annie joins up, but Ruby into Nissa into Aurelia seems fine. Aurelia's actually felt pretty good in this deck. I feel like Aurelia is better than the amount of play that it sees, which is essentially 0. So I think I don't want to say it's good or anything, but I think it's better than the literal 0 play that it sees right now. I mean, 4/4 Flying Haste with a bunch of upsides. It's just too slow for Boros, right? The Boros decks are so aggro. Yeah, opponent takes a Nissa. Well, let's get down Ruby, Rue. Get in for 1. Ruby's actually really good in this deck, too. I've been impressed by Ruby. Opponent. And, ugh. See, this is where Tiny Bones is a problem. Yeah, let's just play Ruby. I think we're on the, like, Ruby try to block plan. We would prefer our opponent not to start Tiny Bonesing our cards. All right, opponent's gonna draw 3. Sure, plays a land. Huh, Insatiable Avarice. I wonder... Well, let's get down the Kadama. Play the fetch. Grab a Plains. This sets us up to maybe draw with Aurelia next turn by playing Kadama first. I wonder if our opponent's the combo, actually. They could be the combo. The Insatiable Avarice, like, you could be playing it for value, but I feel like it's even better if you're playing the combo. Who is Sheoldred? Sheoldred. Well, this is going to make it a lot harder to draw with Aurelia, isn't it? So maybe we just got to play Hajar? No attacks. Well, we need to find a removal spell for the Sheoldred. How about now? Opponent plays a Swamp. I guess that's probably Ruby. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ruby. Oh, I mean, I guess we got to try double blocking. Or maybe we can just take it this turn. If we take it this turn, we can try to draw with Aurelia. We just need to get removal, right? Double blocking, the odds of it working out seem very low. Opponent's got 3 cards and the mana up. There's an Inti. We get drained. We can Inti, draw a card without triggering Sheoldred, and see if we can hit a removal spell. I think we actually discard the Aurelia, as weird as that seems, because that gives us enough mana that we can play Annie joins up if we hit it off the Inti. Basically, we just need to kill this Sheoldred, because it's going to kill us. Well, get him with a Kadama. If they have double removal, it's a blowout. I think we got to try, though. We're already pretty far behind. Let's sack the Hajar. Oh, well, Sheoldred's Edict. Okay, this is not going to work nearly as well as we wanted. We get a counter, and we get to ramp. Oh, and yeah, we're just dead. Opponent had too many removal spells that game. Well, run it back. Yeah, that one was a little brutal. That one was a little brutal. We never found the Annie joins up. I mean, we're not a super removal heavy deck, right? But we do have like 8 removal spells, which is a pretty after sideboarding, which is not a horrible number. With the Annie joins up and the Get Laws. All right. Well, we got removal this game, so we're gonna keep. Well, you know what? Sheoldred still pretty much unbeatable if you can't kill it. Such is life in Sheoldredville. Well, grab a forest. About it. Swamp and passes. Well, let's get down Hajar. Voja's kind of funny in this deck because we don't really have many elves. We have the handful of Nissas, but another Hajar is kind of awkward. Now, okay, well, that kind of works. Sure. Opponent kills the Hajar, but haha, we have another one. Fast the turn. I wonder, what if you could only play one of each legend in your deck? That would be very restrictive, but it would be interesting. Ooh, Gaba. Oh. Well, let's see if our opponent has removal for this Hajar, because we got a Gabakon. If we just get to flip this Gabakon. All right, so opponent has Shieldred's Edict. At least we're getting the edicts out of our opponent's hand. Let's see what our opponent's working with over there. Gisa, cut down Lord Skitter. Well, I guess we take the Lord Skitter, because our opponent can play that now. And so I think the plan is play the Voja, start drawing some cards. Our opponent shouldn't be able to kill it. They've already used 2 Shieldred's Edicts. If they play the Gisa, we can just get lost it. Actually, if they play the Gisa, we can just attack and offer our opponent the chance to chump it. And then if they don't, then we'll kill it. I wish we had an anti-joins up here. Yeah, I think so we can Inti, discard the land, trample up Voja, draw a card. I think we attack the Gabakon, though. Let's get in at the Gabakon. Discard the land. See what we find from Inti. It's another land, that's fine. Find another land, see if our opponent blocks. If they block, that's perfectly fine. We would not mind killing Gisa without spending a removal spell. Opponent. Let's it go. All right, so now Gabakon flips, which is sweet. And Swamp, and we do need to kill the Gisa. It's too risky that our opponent, we know they have the cut down, so we know they can commit a crime. Well, counter on the Voja. Maybe Voja's good enough even without a bunch of elves. It is a 7/7 that's gonna draw a card every time it attacks. And if we have anti-joins up, draw 2 cards every time it attacks. I feel like we're in decent shape. They can kill the Inti. Can and should. If they find another Shieldred's Edict, this could still go sideways. Let's see. No Shieldred's Edict. They're down 2, right? So I hopefully don't have another one. Lord Skitter. Lord Skitter is fine. A 3/3 that makes 1/1s. Not good enough to stop our Voja. Still would not mind drawing anti-joins up. Anti-joins up would just put us in overdrive. Drawing 2 with Voja is so good. And it kills something. All right, opponent. Eats the Inti. Sure, we got ratted. Anti-joins up. Get rid of that Lord Skitter. Well, that was a pretty good draw. That was a pretty good draw. Trigger, Voja. Popping off all by itself. And then the card draw effects work really well with Inti, since we can draw cards which we can discard to Inti to draw even more cards. We're finding a way to make Panharmonicon into a card advantage engine, even without any ETB card draw effects, which is kind of funny. It's just what Panharmonicon does. No matter how you build it, you're gonna end up drawing extra cards. Opponent's going to make a sack and enchantment, so we'll just get rid of the Gabakon. Well, apparently our opponent's not the combo after all. We haven't seen any of the combo pieces, no bloodletters or anything. Opponent, another extract. Ooh, that could get rid of the anti-joins up, I guess. It might be too late to really matter. Opponent's gonna sack the rat, sure. Actually wouldn't mind a land. Ooh, wow. And a Pickel Suite. How do we lose this game? Our opponent drawing a sweeper, I guess? Well, let's Inti. I guess Anapagel. We're just gonna dump our hand. Get in with Voja. Get a small pile of triggers. Make a few 1/1s, draw a few cards. Opponent gonna block a 1/1. I mean, our opponent needs to top deck a Wrath. They need to top deck a Wrath like right now. Bristly Bill. We're just gonna grow things out of cut down range. A Path of Peril doesn't even really do it here, does it? They need like deadly cover up. They need like a hard Wrath. I don't know if they're playing a hard Wrath. We might have got them. Well, I mean, you can see the power anti-joins up. Even in this case, which was like kind of a tame-ish anti-joins up game, drawing multiple cards a turn, growing our team multiple times, double trigger and pick out, like even that's kind of insane. Like Shieldred doesn't matter. All right, opponent agrees they can't get out of it, but they're going to go out on their own terms with an insatiable avarice. And, well, that was not bad. That was not bad for anti-joins up. Doing some legendary Harmonicons. I guess we can keep this. A little bit awkward. That's a lot of lands, although it's kind of fine, right? Because we got Inti to get rid of lands to hopefully draw some Magic the Gathering cards. Well, let's grab a Plains. Next turn, we get down Inti number 1. Ooh, there's Annie joins up. That's actually kind of huge. All right, get down the Inti. Go. Annie joins up being a removal spell that's also a Panharmonicon is so good. All right, opponent going to steal the Annie joins up, I assume. Yeah. Well, that's not the worst draw. Let's play a land and play Anapikal and do a little attacking. If our opponent's going to take our Annie joins up, I guess we are just going to have to kill them. And not discarding this turn. Get in, hit you down to 17. All right, Bristly Bill, sure. And a Swamp. And a Cut Down. All right, so opponent found it all, gets in, hits us. Attack. Discard the Courtyard. Put a counter on the Dork. Hit a Voja that we can't cast. Play Hajar. Play Rockfall Veil. Pass the turn. We really need this Annie joins up. Really, really, really. Unfortunate to hit the Voja that turn. There's not many cards. There's 3 cards in the deck that are 5 mana. 2... Wow, all right. 2 Aurelias, 1 Voja. So we can cast like 95% of our deck with 4 mana, so it's kind of unfortunate that we hit one of the things that we can't cast. Opponent grows a Deep Cavern Bat. Well, if we ever find Annie joins up, things become a little bit more exciting. Opponent hits us down to 17. Passes. Well, there's an Annie joins up, so let's cast it. Kill the Deep Cavern Bat to get back the Annie joins up. Do we stay on defense? That sounds insane. Let's swing with the token. Yeah, let's just swing with the token and not discard. The discarding is so much better next turn, because next turn we can double trigger the Inti and draw so many cards. Okay, that is perfectly acceptable. Yes, we will grab a land. I mean, that works out. Pass the turn. All right, hold. Oh, next turn might be sweet. Archfiend of the Dross. Okay, that's awkward. And opponent plays a land. Counter on the bat. Down to 14. We draw a Ruby. Discard Ruby. Draw 2 cards. Oh, what is it? Yeah, let's discard it. Discard. Draw 2 more cards. Takes the beats. Wow, we can only play one thing. That's so awkward. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's gotta be Kadama, unfortunately. And pass the turn. Yeah, that was rough to not hit a land there. Hitting a land would have let us play 2 things, but we did not find it. Opponent's gonna grow the bat. And now they can double the counters, and we have to chump. So if they double the counters, this goes to 7. We go to 1. Yeah. Doubles the counters, we go to 1. Well, Sovereign on attack Ahu. Good card, but not good enough at the moment. Well, we're going to attack with everything. Pretty sure we're dead here. Discard the Sovereign. Get some triggers. Kadama. Nissa. Land. There's a land. Yeah, but now we're just dead, right? So opponent takes the beats. We get to do a ton of ramping, but it doesn't really ramp us into anything. We have to thin the deck a bunch. I mean, we're popping off. We're just popping off too slow for it to matter. Nissa into more Nissa. Yeah. Bristly Bill coming down. Actually, the double bat's the problem. Bat is such a busted card. Busted might not be the right word, but bat is a very good card. Well, let's bring in a couple of get lost. Go down the Sovereign. Go down one Aurelia and run it like that. Yeah, that one. I mean, we got to see Annie joins up, popping off, but we were just too far behind. Opponent, too many big flyers there, and we just didn't find the right removal. Archfiend's kind of awkward, right? Annie joins up actually kills almost everything relevant in Standard. One of the cards it doesn't kill, though, one of the only cards it doesn't kill is exactly that silly Archfiend of the Dross. So boo and hiss at you, opponent. I mean, I guess we did keep a land heavy hand and then got double batted. That's kind of the problem. We kept a 5-lander and then got batted twice. So we just didn't have a lot of action in the early game. We get to play first. And God. All right, I mean, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it. Awkward mana. but I don't think we can ship it. It's unfortunate that we have so many basics in this hand about it. Land, red mana? No. Oh god. Okay. Swamp, pass. Seriously, Magic Gods. We have two forests and 2 plains. We have drawn every non-red every non-red source in our deck. Oh boy. Okay. Well, at least we know we're not drawing a forest or plains. Literally impossible. Although, you never know. There could be an arena bug that just adds one in somehow. All right. Yeah, this is... I guess we should have mulliganed. What are the odds that we draw the last forest or plains, though? Seriously, Magic Gods. Seriously, Preacher of the Schism. Opponent gonna crack a map. Then we're gonna kill the Preacher. Actually, they're not even gonna crack the map. All right, we untap. It is another non-red source of mana. All right, at this point, it's kind of getting funny. I mean, I guess this is the downside of being a 3-color deck, but still. About it. Wow, doesn't even saddle, just goes attacking. All right, well, we got to kill the Gitrog. Opponent gets to double trigger their Preacher, and this one I think is just over. I mean, yeah. All right, well, sometimes you'd never cast a spell. We're up against Arcanus 90. Let's see what our opponents do in this game. Seeing if we can double up some legendary triggers. And, well, this is a good hand. It's a fine hand. We don't have Annie joins up yet, but let's get a fetch out of the way. Grab a forest. All right, opponent. What are you doing? Island, eh? Kadama Inti is kind of a combo. Yeah, they're probably Demir, right? Do we got to worry about cut down? Yeah, let's just play Ruby. Ruby's the most explosive. So we can Ruby into double 2-drop next turn. Oh, are they mono blue? We might be getting our things countered. Sundown Pass? Inti? No counter. We'd rather resolve the Inti given the choice. If our opponent counters Hajar, so we can play around the make disappear a little bit. All right, I guess they just both resolve. Wow, opponent has no counter. If they're actually mono blue, which they very well might be. If they're actually mono blue, they might be in trouble this game. They are kind of far behind. Wow, yeah, that's another island. I mean, okay, it's definitely mono blue because there's a Hautian. Mono blue is pretty good if it gets out ahead, but it doesn't play nearly as well from being behind on the board. Wow. Alrighty then, Annie joins up. Snipe the Hauntian and hit you a little bit. Are we discarding? We can't. Let's wait. We can't play the cards this turn, right? We can discard 2 to impulse draw 4, but we just don't have the mana to play the card. So we'll just let it go. We'll just hit our opponent a little bit. We'll play the fetch land, thin the deck. Next turn we can have the big turn. Even that though, just 4 mana kill your Hauntian, still good. And now we get the upside. Wow, opponent staying aggro. I don't know if you're the aggro at the moment, opponent. Opponent passes. Well, Kadama? Wow, that resolves too? Do we actually just get to resolve everything? Attack you? Discard a land. Draw 2. I guess Ruby. Gets through like another Fairy Mastermind. Another Hajar. All right, we won't discard the last land. Well, they did have another Mastermind. Good thing we put the counter on the Ruby. Opponent. They can kill the Inti here. Actually, you know what? Let's sack the Jar. I think we'd rather keep the Inti around. Now we get to double ramp with Kadama. Grab a land. It would be sweet if we had the Bristly Bill down, but grab a land. Let's play Bristly Bill. We could replay the Hajar. The thing is, they're mono blue. So how are they... What do we need Hajar for? The odds of them killing her stuff, not very high. And wow, that was a blowout. That was the Annie joins up blowout. Well, let's bring in Thalia. Bring in maybe some Gabakons, some more Get Lost, and probably just trim expensive stuff mostly that is easy to counter. Like, if our opponent's going to counter a Bristly Bill or a Hajar or something, yeah, it's like a little obnoxious, but sure. But if we spend 5 mana on like an Aurelia and our opponent counters it for 2 mana, that's much worse. Maybe Nissa. I like that Kadama has reach. The reach on Kadama has been oddly effective in matchups with flyers. It was really good against the Demir deck, and now Mono Blue is another deck that's going to have a lot of flyers, so I think we keep the Kadama just because Reach is apparently boss. Who would have thought that Reach, of all things, would be such a impactful mechanic? I would have never thought that I'd be so hyped about having Reach in my deck. Yeah, we'll keep this. Gonna need to hit a land or two. Well, there's a land. But otherwise, this is a pretty good hand if we can resolve our stuff. Inti, Kadama, and he joins up. Yeah, let's just forest. Well, there's our second land too, so lands are gonna be fine. Opponent. All right, here comes the counters. Yeah, if Mono Blue can get off on the front foot. Wow, it's a Haunty Jin. Now we might have to take a turn off and kill that, unfortunately. Yeah, get rid of the Haunty Jin. Being on the draw, cannot any joins up it yet. Opponent land. Very mastermind. And gonna crack a map. Sure. Top card is another counter. That counter actually seems pretty good in Mono Blue. A counter that makes a body seems like exactly what Mono Blue wants. Wow, are we just gonna anti joins up now? We might. Yeah, let's just do it. This actually sets us up for kind of a cool turn next turn with Bristly Bill. We can like Inti Bristly Bill fetch land, add an absurd amount of counters. Wow, and they tapped out too. All right, now they tapped out for Teferi though. How bad is this? Okay, this game has gotten interesting now. So let's play Inti. Let's play Bristly Bill. Let's play Cabretti Courtyard. Bristly Bill, trigger, counter. And then grab a forest. Counter. Oh, that land just added 4 power to the battlefield. The power of Annie joins up. Opponent. Island. And you gonna draw a card with Teferi. Sure. Get some triggers. We wouldn't mind drawing a land. Yeah, land's actually kind of good here. Or do we discard it to Inti? We know they have a counter. So if we play Kadama, we know that they can counter it. Like 100%. Do we have to try to kill the Teferi is the other question. It's pretty risky to leave it out, especially in a deck that has card draw. Yeah, all right. Well, go with the Teferi. Inti triggers. Hajar. We don't really need indestructibility in this matchup. So, all right, get a counter. Flow of Knowledge, We can... what an interesting spot to be in. So opponent stuff's going to get huge. They drew 6 cards. That becomes a 10-10. Teferi gets 10 loyalty. Land, oh god. Well, discard the land because we got plenty of those. Trigger. Counter on Inti. Thalia and Annie joins up. I guess we just gotta let this go. We could double the counters, but it's not enough to really change anything. So hit that for 5. Hit Teferi for 5. And as painful as this is, I think we just need to Annie joins up. I think we got to get rid of the 10-10. Like, the Teferi's gonna... The Teferi, I think, has to stick. I think we have to kill the 10-10. And then we play the Thalia, which does annoy our opponent at least. Well, we will see. Teferi back up to 6. Opponent has a handful of cards. And they're at 20. And they have a Teferi. Shit, wow. Okay. That seems very awkward in a counterspell deck. That is honestly the least scary thing our opponent could play there. They hit a Fairy Mastermind. Aren't you just going to keep cascading? I mean, I know Discover is better than actual Cascade in this case, but aren't you just going to keep cascading into counters? Discard a land. Draw a couple of cards. Opponent's also tapped out. So this is our turn to actually add things to the battlefield. Counter on Thalia. Ooh, there's another Bristly Bill. And a Gabakon. And you know what? Let's discard Kadama too. Counter on Inti. There's a Get Lost in a land. Now we have choices. So the Fairy's dead. We can't play everything because of our own Thalia, but we can Gabakon. Counter. 2-1 flyer. I mean, I don't know if we actually care about the counters too much because I don't know how much more we really need to cast. Like, we get to get down Bristly Bill, and then we can just start doubling counters. I guess Phantom Interference is a counter that makes a creature, so I guess that's the best. I'll play the Bristly Bill, play the land, trigger. Grow Cactus Jack up to a 4/4. All right, I mean, we might be winning this race now, maybe, with Bristly Bill. Counter double time, opponent. One unknown card. A bunch of counters in hand that don't really matter. I mean, they can at some point draw with the Mastermind. Mocking Sprite, sure. And, ooh, Talion's Messenger, also sure. Opponents actually made a reasonable board. They can attack and trigger the Talion's Messenger, start getting rid of some of these counters. And they still have the Chimmel going. The problem for our opponent is, our team's gonna get big. And Inti can give stuff trample, so our opponent might still be in trouble here. Grows Talion's Messenger, discovers into a Prop's Eidetic Memory. I mean, they can pay the 1 for Thalia, so they can play it. It won't trigger until next turn, though. Prop's Eidetic Memory with a Flow of Knowledge, or whatever that draw 6. Ooh, another Annie joins up. Well, that's probably going to be discarded. I think it might be Bristly Bill's time to shine here. Do we want to try to flip Gabacon? I mean, I think it's probably best just to try to kill our opponent. Gabacon does add counters, though. Yeah, let's just go face. Let's go face. Inti triggers. Discard Annie joins up. Impulse draw a couple cards. Inti and a land. I mean, our team's about to get big, though. We got 4 counters on the Inti. It's not too often we get to activate Bristly Bill's ability, but when we do, it seems kind of sweet. Does our opponent wow, isn't this just like the blowout? Okay, activate Bristly Bill. Yeah, I don't know about that block. I think our opponent blocked in a way that they lost 2 creatures and killed 0 creatures. Oh, all right, land, Bristly Bill. At this point, I don't even know if it matters. Thalia, Bill, go. Opponent, show us that mono blue Wrath of God. Opponent needs a Cyclonic Rift. How about a Prop's Eidetic Memory? I don't think they can 15 us. Actually, you know how they could kill us is that draw 6, or draw equal to Islands card, flow of knowledge or whatever it is, but it looks like they don't have it. That would have actually done it, I think, because the Prop's Eidetic Memory. Opponent hits us down to 8. Unfortunately for our opponent, though, this is the big Chimmel. Hits a Mocking Sprite, but that's not enough to stop the beats. This Inti double counters again is kind of ridiculous. Opponent GG's, and, well, I want to say that's an Annie Joins Up win, and Annie Joins Up did help, but that was kind of Bristly Bill popping off, honestly. Counter doubles for the win with Bristly Bill. Oh, Annie Joins Up. Sweet, sweet. So what do we learn this week about Annie Joins Up in Standard? And overall, we went 5-3 with the deck, which, that's a pretty fine record for a weird brew. More importantly, Annie Joins Up is kind of ridiculous. I think this card might actually be a little bit underrated. It's like the ultimate 2024 Magic card. In 2024, everything's legendary, so it turns out that Annie Joins Up actually works with a lot of things. And we can see this in the deck. We have like card draw, we have mana dorks, we have all these things that just incidentally happen to be legends. So Annie Joins Up, it actually seems like a really worthy payoff for a deck like this. And one of the cool things about the deck is we're like a pretty functional deck, but then we find the Annie Joins Up and it just puts the deck into overdrive and does some incredibly explosive things. So it's not a true Panharmonicon. The play pattern is a lot different than OG Panharmonicon. OG Panharmonicon tends to be like super dirtily, and we're just like doing ETB things and kind of drawing lots of cards and trusting that the value gets there eventually. Annie Joins Up is actually like a very aggressive Panharmonicon. In some ways, it reminds me of like an Ishin or something, that most of the good triggers involve like attacking and dealing damage, and then Annie Joins Up just makes all those cards super powerful. So I really like this deck. I think Annie Joins Up is actually super fun, and I'm sure we'll be playing some more of it in the future because I think it actually is a worthy Panharmonicon successor. So that's Annie Joins Up. That's been our deck for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Looking for even more Magic? Well, check out last week's Against the Odds, where we taught Arena Zoomers about Mindslaver locks, or maybe the Budget Magic, where we did some Amulet Tightening Desert Burning in Standard.